Glass Pop Media.
Welcome back to the fastest and funnest dive into history. It's History with Mr. B. Today's episode will cover the events from February 27th to March 3rd. Episode 9 is called Records Were Made to Be Broken. All right, let's kick off the show. February 27th, 1827, 196 years ago today, the first Mardi Gras celebration in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was on this day a group of masked and costumed students danced through the streets of New Orleans, marking the beginning of the city's famous Mardi Gras celebrations. The celebration of Carnival is a season or festival of merrymaking before Lent. The festival takes place on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, and the custom also refers to consuming all the fats in the home before Lent, as Mardi Gras actually means Fat Tuesday in French. This tradition spread from Rome across Europe and later to the Americas. Early French settlers brought Mardi Gras traditions and celebrations as early as recorded in Mobile, Alabama, 1703, Mardi Gras was celebrated. And again, as I mentioned before, Fat Tuesday is the day before Ash Wednesday. But nowhere in the United States is Mardi Gras celebrated more on a larger scale than in New Orleans, famous for its over-the-top parades and its parties, and the concluding party on the last day of Mardi Gras. And what you have is a bunch of crews. A crew is a group or organization of friends that will put together a float or host a ball. And there's hundreds of crews in New Orleans. And some well-known more than others. And they're usually local citizens who toss throws at passerbys, including metal coins, stuffed toys, and now the infamous strands of beads. Mardi Gras, the celebration, usually hosts up to 500,000 people per year, and it's so important that in February of 2006, after the Mardi Gras, after Hurricane Katrina destroyed the city, Mardi Gras was still held. A great tradition and a fun thing. It's on Mr. B's bucket list before I kick the bucket to actually hang out at Mardi Gras and see what it's all about. But it sounds super fun. And it leads me to my dad joke of the day. What do you call a hamburger covered in beads? A French Quarter Pounder. Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you're here. This day in history, History with Mr. B, February 28th, 1953, 70 years ago today, DNA was discovered. Here's the full story. Cambridge University scientists James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick announced they have determined the double helix structure of DNA. DNA is the molecule containing human genes. So my DNA is why I look like this, and I'm this tall, and I have these shaped ears, and your DNA is also that same reason. DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it was first discovered in 1869. Its crucial role in determining genetic inheritance wasn't demonstrated until 1943. The molecular biologists, listen to this part, it's kind of crazy, were significantly aided by a woman named Rosalind Franklin. Although she is not included in the announcement, didn't share in the Nobel Prize for it, which is kind of sus, as my 10th graders in period 1 would say. That's very sus. But she was definitely a part of it. In the early 1950s, Watson and Crick were only two of many scientists trying to crack the code of DNA. California chemist Linus Pauling suggested an incorrect model in the beginning of 1953, and that prompted Watson and Crick to try and beat Pauling at his own game. So on the morning of February 28th, 70 years ago, they determined the structure of DNA was a double helix polymer, or a spiral of DNA strands, each containing a long chain of monomer nucleotides wound around each other. And they replicate into individual strands, each of which became a template for a new double helix. And Watson later Watson later claimed that Crick announced the discovery by walking into the nearby Eagle pub and blurting out, "We have found the secret of life." Now, just some fun facts that I found for you guys, because I think this is very important. We're talking about DNA.
There were days where we thought we wouldn't make it out, but we stuck it out. Today's our day. Today's our day. There were nights we would fight, no end in sight, nothing was right. Tonight's our night. Tonight's our night. I'll fight for you until this life is over. There's no giving up here, babe.
In this country, United States, to date, 375 people have been released from prison because of DNA testing evidence. 21 were on death row. DNA doesn't lie. However, I did find a statistic that say eyewitness accounts in crime cases account for 52% of all wrongful convictions. So thank goodness for DNA. And that would technically mean that 4 to 6% of people in prisons may be innocent. So really think about that. And also think about this. What did one strand of DNA say to the other? You don't know? Do my jeans look fat? Thank you for watching. My, oh my, I am sure glad you folks are here today. We got some life lessons. March 1st, 1692, 331 years ago today, the Salem witch trials begin. In the Salem village in Massachusetts Bay Colony, Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, an enslaved woman from Barbados, are all accused and charged with the illegal practice of witchcraft. Now here's where it gets crazy. Later that day, Tituba, possibly under duress and coercion, confessed to the crime, encouraging authorities to seek out more Salem witches. In Salem village, kids began experiencing fits and mysterious maladies. Doctors concluded the children were suffering from witchcraft and satanic rituals. Well, modern historians easily explain these events as seizures, diabetic episodes, or even something as Tourette's syndrome. During the next few months, however, the afflicted area residents incriminated more than 150 women and men in the Salem village and surrounding areas of satanic practices and witchcraft. In the special court of Oyer and Terminer, which means to hear and decide, the judge convened in Salem under Chief William Stoughton. The first to be tried was Bridget Bishop of Salem. She was found guilty and executed by hanging on June 10th. 13 more women and 4 men from all stations of life followed her to the gallows, and one man, Giles Corey, was executed by crushing. That's crazy, man. Crushing. Put a giant rock on him, and if that doesn't work, put another rock until he dies and his eyeballs pop out of his head. What lesson can Mr. B teach you guys about the Salem witch trials? I think one very valuable lesson. Beware of the dangers and power of mass fear and ignorance. Also, you have to look at the process of due law. It's innocent until proven guilty. And at these Salem witch trials, it really didn't matter. It was guilty until proven guilty. Finally, what do you call people who testify at the Salem witch trials? Witnesses. Thanks for tuning in. As always, folks, I appreciate you guys. All right, let's get going. Today is March 2nd, and in March 2nd, 1962, 61 years ago today, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain scores 100 points in just one basketball game. Here's the story. Wilt Chamberlain set the NBA record single-game scoring record by tallying 100 points for the Philadelphia Warriors in a 169-147 victory over the sad New York Knicks. This game took place in Hershey Sports Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and was not televised. Looking for pictures for this event, I found very few. All right, this game was not on TV. After the first few minutes, the Warriors led 19-3, and Wilt already had 13 points. He made his first 5 shots. At the half, he had 41 points, and this is the Knicks' famous line by the Knicks coach. Hey, who's covering Wilt again? I mean, he had 41 points at the half, so he didn't end up with 98 or 102, a nice round 100, an imposing record set by an imposing player. 7'1", 260-pound center, having set scoring season records in each of his first 2 seasons with 37 and 38 points per game. The coach of the Warriors, Frank McGuire, said, we're going to get Wilt the ball at least 65 to 70% of the time. He was the workhorse, and everybody knew that the offense, was running through Wilt Chamberlain. All right, so there was only, and the crazy thing is, there's only 4,124 spectators, but by the third quarter, they kept yelling, give it to Will, give it to Will. Now, Will's, as he talks about this, he says, man, these people are tough. I'm tired. I already scored 80 points. Nobody's ever done that before, and these people are yelling 100, 100. Well, he finally scores 100, and I'm sure that record may never be broken, at least in my lifetime. The only ones that have come close, the great Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, 81. David Thompson had 73, and the Admiral David Robinson had 71. But it was on this day that Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a basketball game. That's crazy. This day in history, March 3rd, 2018, 5 years ago today, very sad, Roger Bannister died. But we're not going to focus on the death of people. We're going to focus on their accomplishments and the lessons that they get to teach us. Robert Bannister was an English neurologist who was the first athlete to run a mile in less than 4 minutes, and that was a big deal in history. He was a student at the University of Oxford and St. Mary's Hospital Medical School. In London, he won the British Empire Championships in the mile run and the European title in 1954 in the 1500 meter. He broke the 4-minute barrier with a time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds in a dual meet on May 6, 1954. And this was a nine-year-old record held by Gunder Higg of Sweden. And the takeaways, the important things that Mr. B is going to tell you from Roger Bannister is this: the power of the mind. So he trained, of course, he trained very hard physically. Everybody knows that. He broke the 4-minute mile. But he also used techniques of visualization and imagining breaking the record and psychological tricks and mind power just as much as he used his legs. Now, eventually Bannister became a neurologist, and he wrote papers on the physiology of exercise, heat illness, and neurological subjects. The current world record holder in the mile is Hicham El Guerrouj, and it is now 3 minutes and 43.13 seconds. And the women's record now is 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The lesson to be learned from Mr. B and Roger Bannister, mostly Roger Bannister, I'm just telling you what the lesson is when something seems to be impossible, that only means it's impossible for that person. Bannister never believed, so the whole world thought the 4-minute mile, the sub 4-minute mile was impossible. And for 9 years, it was 4 minutes and 1 second and some other time. But he believed that he could do it. And after he broke the barrier, within 12 months, another person ran a 4-minute mile. Now today it's 2023 and you have high school kids running sub 4-minute miles. So the lesson that you can really learn from here, and I'm gonna drop a name on you, and I was taught this by a great man, a businessman, a good family man. He's just a great person. His name's Bedros Keuilian, and he taught me that limits, not are often, are always self-imposed. So think about that. Roger Bannister knew that way back when, and we're starting to rediscover that in some facets of society. Thank you for watching this clip, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So that concludes the end of episode 9, Records Were Made to Be Broken. Hope you enjoyed the recap of history events this week. And if you could do me a favor, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, or follow. History with Mr. B is on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, and TikTok. I'll see you all next week for episode 10, a week of unbelievable memories. See you folks then. Thank you for tuning in.
Hee-haw!